Good morning, students. Today, and I'm going to teach you class 8th history, and the chapter is that from trade to territory. Today, in this context, we will definitely find out a person who comes from India, right, and began to trade in India, and after that, he also controlled the whole territory of a nation. What was the logical reasons behind this? What were some conditions were applied by that persons? And before that, we have to study about the introductions portion. Let me tell you what was the background of that. Whether it was a quite similar things were happening the time of a invader, times of a trader, right? So what we are going to cover in this chapter, students? So we are going to cover in chapter is India before the coming of a British. So that is the background. We will definitely find out that when Britishers were not present in India, what was the condition of India, who were the rulers, and how India was getting to the develop for each and every time, and how did they come, right? And we will also find out to study in the chapter there were the battles, and the battle of Plassey, the battle of Buxars, and we would also definitely talks about in a study of expansion of a company rule and policies. So in this policies, we will also cover that is a sub topics, and that is called subsidiary alliance, claim to paramountcy, doctrine of lapse, war with the Tipu Sultan and Marathas, setting up of a new administration, and conclusion. So these are the major topics that we will definitely going to the cover in your chapters while I will teach you. So let me start with the background. And do you know what is the background of that? So the background is that actually Aurangzeb was the last powerful Mughal emperor of India. That's mean if you will study about the all Mughal emperor, so you will find that the Aurangzeb that was the last powerful Mughal emperor. That doesn't mean that there were not any other Mughal emperor were present there. Yes, but actually Aurangzeb was the most and the powerful Mughal emperor. But it was the last that. But what happened about that? What about his actual presence of dominance of Mughal, right, empire over the nations? So after his death in the year 1707, the many Mughal governors that were called Subedars began asserting their independence. That means they were demanding that they would like to be, independent. They don't want be living as a together. They want get the separations. They want make their own kingdom. They want to establish their regional kingdoms. And then you can find out that at this process, at this way, the power of Delhi was declining, right? And what about the result? You're getting to know that. So as a result, we got to know that new power was emerging over the India. So we got an opportunity. We've given opportunity to someone else to dominate the nation. So we are going to start with the first thing of British is that East India Company. Right. Now, question is that why we are taking the name the East India Company? Just because if you find that Europe, so you will find that Europe is where where in the direction of the west of India, right? So anyone who is coming from east, right? Anyone who is coming towards east coming from west, and that's why we are talking about it was actually the name of East India Company. What is East India Company? It was a trading company. And what happened in the year, it was the year 1600, and East India Company acquired the charter from Queen Elizabeth first, right? And do you mean what do you mean by the you know sole rights mean? Get the sole right to trade with East. That's mean that company got the sole right, the individual right, that no one will definitely compete with that person's, right? So excluded the competitions from other English trading companies with mercantile, objective made by the huge profit. Still, competitions from the other European power was there, and we are also talking about in terms of Portuguese, French, and Dutch. So the charter was only designated for the other companies that were existed in England, that they could not come to the India, just because it was granted the charter to the East India Company. The rest of Europe was not in the control of Mughal Empress, and that was, we are getting to know that in different countries, the company belonging to different parts of European countries, right? They came to India, and they also started a trade like East India Company. So it was the competition created actual problem between the nature of a competition further exaggerated the problem. So we are going to provide the map of India. Student, in this map you will find that this is the best direction of India. You will find that this was a route from where using by the Britishers, and they come from here in this direction. So this one is situated in the west direction. Actually they are moving toward the east. On that basis you can see it was actually the name of that country, got to, and that was British East India Company. Right. We are going to we are moving another chapter for that. So all the companies were interested buying the same things. What was the main problem? That not only the British East India Company student was interested to buying the things, actually all other European companies were also interested to buying the same things. And the things was that there was cotton, silk, paper, and cloves, and cardamom, and cinnamon, and etc. And this one created a competition. And what happened when this situation created? There was a competition, there was a demand from other European companies. Yes, and there was demand and there was supply as well as. But now the price will also increase just because it was a competition that other companies were in such a position uh, to give more price of same things. So the profit of the company was declining. We're talking about East India Company. Why? Because first of that, British East India Company was buying the same things in the low prices. Now due to the competition, it had to the buy in a high prices. So before that it was getting the advantage, getting the marginal rate was in a positive way, but now it was declining, right? So what was measures, tactics that Britishers could use to eliminate such a competition? The only way to the flourish the East India Company was eliminate the rival companies in India. And for that, that company, that means East India Company, had to do the same things. Led to the fierce battles between the trading companies. What would happen? What were going to the place in that point of time? Ships were attacked, routes were blocked, and they carried on with the arms, and trading posts were protected through the fortifications. So these were such major steps were taken by the East India Company to get eliminations from their rivalries. Now we are talking about first English factory. In the year 1651, students on the bank of River Hooghly, Britishers opened this first factory. We are going to know that from the factors mean the companies in the trader, right? Factory had a warehouse offices. As a trade expanded, company persuaded merchants and traders to come and settle near the factory, right? That's mean when the company getting growth, getting a better performance, that now he played a tricks to make agree everyone to, like traders, to settle there near the factory, you know so in the year 1671, company acquired jamidari rights over the villages Sultanati, Govindapur, and Calcutta by bribing the Mughal officials. The company done one thing: they gave the bribing to the Mughal officers, and they control three villages earlier I mentioned you. And what do you mean by the uh, And what do you mean by Jamidar rights? Right to collect the taxes. Company persuaded Mughal emperors Aurangzeb to issue Farman, order granting companies right to trade at duty free in India. Alright? East India Company began trade in Bengal. And however, these farmans were continuously misused by company officials, granted concession only to the company, but the company officials were using concessions for the private trade, refused to pay the taxes. And this misuse of a farman was leading to enormous loss of a revenue for Bengal. Was the Nawab of Bengal and the Murshid Quli Khan happy with this? Do you think it was a such thing but taking place right in the Bengal at that time? Do you think for this deeds, for this task, even the Nawab of Bengal was happy? I think not. It's not that. It's clear not. How trade led to the battle. How the trade process converted into the battles. So we got to know that the conflict between company and the Nawabs of Bengal, you know, becoming worse day by day. The situation changed after the death of Aurangzeb. Bengal Nawabs asserted their powers and autonomy, independence, and Murshid Quli Khan became the Nawab, and he was followed by the Alivardi Khan and then Sirajud-Dowla became the Nawab of Bengal. They refused grant to concessions to the pay the company's conflict, and company had another stand demanding duties to be the removed and fortifications. And this one is started the battles between company versus the Nawab of Bengal, and that was called the Battle of Plassey. In Battle of Plassey, students, what happened there actually? What happened there? The Battle of Plassey, after the death of Alivardi Khan in the year 1756, Sirajud-Dowla became the Nawab of Bengal. You know what Britishers wanted? They were playing a dirty politics. Company was worried about this. Why? They wanted a puppet rulers. Another question is that what do you mean by the word puppet ruler? So puppet rulers mean a ruler who is working according the will and the wishes of a Britishers. So due to this interference of a company, even Surajud-Dowla was not happy with the company. And for that, what did Sirajud-Dowla do for his kingdom? Sirajud-Dowla, you know, given such an order that stop melding in his political affairs, stop fortifications. Please don't, you cannot make, you know, you cannot make the fort nearby my town and pay the revenues. If you are trading in my kingdom, you're trading in my country, you have to pay the revenues. Right. But this negotiations, these conversations, this treaty was failed. And Nawab marched with the 30,000 soldiers to the English factory at the Qasim Bazaar and captured the company official, locked in the warehouses, disarmed, blockaded the sea route and the ships. And there is a twist came at that. Then he marched to the Calcutta to establish control over the companies for there. So were the company officers silent to this incident? A student, this is the question. Do you think what Sirajuddaulah did at the time, do you think it was a quite negative response from the side of a British officials? Was it any positive actions would be going to the take place? And yes, it was a quick response from company officials. You know, the company officials I'm talking about sent troops under the command of Robert Clive. And this was the person who played a very crucial role for English company. And finally, in the year 1757, Robert Clive led the company army against Sirajud-Dowla at the Plassey. Now the question is that who won the battle of Plassey? And clear answer is company official. And the question is that and why? Because one of his company commander, cheated Sirajud-Dowla. Right? We are going to narrate the regions of a defeat of Sirajuddaulah at the Battle of Plassey. So the main reason of the defeat was the betrayal of Amir Jafar, and that person was the security commander, right, of Sirajuddaulah, and he was commander in the army of Sirajuddaulah, and he betrayed by not participating in the battle. He was lured by the Clive by promise of making him Nawab after the defeat of Sirajuddaulah. That means prior the battle, the Britisher promised Mir Jafar that if you are not going to support your king, and definitely later on the defeat of this king, and I will make you as the Nawab or the Emperor of Bengal. He came in the false influence of that person. What happened? Events after the Battle of Plassey. Sirajuddaulah was assassinated and Mir Jafar was made the Nawab. Company was interested more in trade, not by taking over the administration. It was a clear agenda, students, from the side of a company. That company was not interested to involve themselves in ruling. Actually, he was getting trade more profit from Indian right markets. The company found it very difficult to work with a puppet Nawab as well as because later on that, even puppet ruler also started opposing the policies of the Britishers. And that's it.